Welcome to PHP Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and it's time for another Monday minisode.
Monday mini. I don't know what that was. I just feel like we need like a sound effect, like a hot drop when it like comes. So, you know, we had somebody who helped us make the Bellow sound effect. That's like super cool. So if there is anybody out there who's like really good with like making sounds and cool effects, if you want to partner with us and help us make some cool Monday mini stuff, I mean, I could do it, but it's going to be like mediocre quality. And I'm sure we've got some talented people out there. But anyways, what are we talking about today, Orlando?
So today we're talking about something that I think everyone is going to experience over this Q4. And even when it's not Q4. So if you're watching this episode and it's, February of 2025, this should still be relevant to you. So today I wanted to talk about how to remove negative feedback from eBay.
Yeah, because negative feedback is one of those terrible things. I mean, there have been times I've even had neutral feedbacks, and I felt like with a negative or a neutral feedback, the algorithm just slows down. Like the sales, and a lot of times it's, there's like a period of waiting, like where you're working with eBay, and they're like, okay, once this comes and they get the return, the item comes back to you, and you refund, then we'll deal with the negative feedback. So there's like a 2 to 3 day period in there where a negative feedback stays on when it's going to go away. Mm-hmm. And then the moment it goes away, it's like sale. And it's like, I was being punished and it wasn't even my fault,
Yeah, no, I agree. And so that's why I wanted to talk about this, because a lot of you, I hear it. Well, I don't hear it. I see it in the DMs when you DM us or you shoot us an email, or, we're at a meetup and you're like, man, this negative feedback, like, I can't believe I wish I did something. So I never want that to be you. I want you to be able to remove these feedbacks and keep your nice score. So the very first thing is always front load everything to the best of your ability. And what I mean by that is, even before you receive that feedback, make sure there's a few things in play. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, it's top rated seller. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, hey, I don't have the time to be top rated seller. I totally get it. You got to do what works for you. But I will tell you, being a top rated seller gives you a greater advantage if you get a negative feedback later on. And I'll share that later in a little bit. Also, offering 30-day returns. Okay, which is part of being a top-rated seller. If a person can return an item, chances are that eBay is more willing to work with you to remove a negative feedback. Because what that means is you're willing to make things right. You aren't just saying, hey, I don't care about the customer. Remember, eBay, like every other platform, is customer-centric. So they want to make sure that the customer is being taken care of. So if you get a negative feedback, eBay's basically looking at it as it's a strike on you for not doing what's best for the customer, right? So you want to make sure you keep your 100% feedback and you fight for every negative, and even the neutrals, And the last thing before Mike gets to our next point, make sure that your description is accurate. You have great photos, because here's the thing. All it takes is a buyer to talk about one thing. And it's something that, maybe you listed something wrong. You put the wrong size. You missed taking a picture on one section of it, or whatever it is. And that buyer will ride that one, and then it'll be hard for you to remove that feedback. Now, let's say you did all that. Let's say everything's right and you still get the negative feedback. What is the next step?
Yeah. So one of the first things you should do, no matter what, I mean, obviously you want to front load with all of those things, but the next thing is you want to try and resolve it as best you can with the customer, right? So if the customer is upset with something, they're messaging you, message the customer right away. Let them know, hey, I offer returns, I can offer a refund, all of those things, and give them options, talk to them, try and work it out. Because if you can show, when you do end up having to contact eBay, when you do have to show, hey, look, I've got this entire, message thread of me trying to work this out. I've been trying to make things right. And you'd be surprised at how many times just the act of messaging them and talking to them can prevent the negative feedback in the first place. There are times when I have customers who are pretty upset about something, we work it out, and then I end up still getting a feedback from them. And the feedback is, had an issue with the item, great seller, would definitely buy from again, right? And I still end up getting a positive feedback on an item that they're returning. So now it doesn't always work, but you've got those two things. One, sometimes you can be proactive and prevent the negative feedback just by being nice, being polite in messages to the buyer. You can prevent it in the first place. And if you do end up with a negative feedback, you have the documentation to show, I've been trying to make this right. I've done everything in my power, as opposed to being defensive. Because a lot of times our first instinct is to be defensive. It wasn't like that when I sent it. Or are you sure? And the moment you start defending yourself in that way, it's going to come off very defensive, and the other person is going to become more aggressive, and your chances of making it work is going to be less. I mean, if eBay looks at it and it looks like you and the buyer were pretty much in a back and forth yelling match through messages, the chances of it getting removed are going to be a lot less.
And remember, one of the best things you can do is, well, not the best things. One of the best scenarios for you is you message them and you message them again and they don't reply. That works completely in your favor when you call eBay. You say, hey, I try to work everything. I sent 2 messages. They completely ignored me and they just left the negative feedback. Usually eBay is willing to work with you in that scenario. All right. So let's say, the buyer's like, nope, I'm not changing. Actually, I did have somebody 2 weeks ago give me a neutral. And I'm going to talk about this in the last, and actually we talked about this in the future. We've recorded so many episodes in the future podcast here, dropping on Wednesday. I talk about this, but basically the message that they sent me was they're trying to teach me a lesson. Was that last podcast? I can't remember. Anyways, they're just like, nope, you actually, you didn't ship this on time and you didn't do this, which all was untrue. So this is why my feedback is what it is. And I was like, all right, that's fine. So at that point in time, the next step after messaging, trying to make things right, is to hit that feedback revision button. Right. And usually it'll give you an option as to why you think it should be revised. Now, use these sparingly. Don't use this right away because these should be used on the easy ones. Right. Somebody unloads on you and has a bunch of profanity, or, there's something that deals with the shipping. They don't like the cost of shipping. Remember, if they agree to pay for your shipping, they can't leave you negative feedback for shipping. They just can't, unless, you took too long to ship the item out, then they can. But if, you charge $100 for shipping and they're like, whoa, it's too expensive. No, they already paid for that. They agreed to that in the contract. And so eBay will be willing to work with you to remove that feedback. So use it on the easy ones. But here's the other thing. There's this page called the eBay Seller Help. Maybe a lot of you don't know about this, but just Google eBay Seller Help. You'll go to this page and then it'll say request assistance. Now, why this page isn't on Seller Hub, I have no idea. Okay. Have you been to this page?
Yeah. I feel like a lot of things on eBay are this way, and certain websites are like this, but things are built, I feel like, a lot of times by, like computer engineers, IT people who they're trying to do it for like efficiency for the way they run things. But the user interface of it is very challenging, right? Like you've got to go through one page to find another page to, this is kind of on a different website through a different, it's tough. But maybe they're hiding it on purpose. Maybe they don't want you always here.
So Google eBay Seller Help, and then there'll be a blue button on that page that says request assistance, and it'll take you to this whole page where you can remove defects, you can remove feedback, you can actually track where it's at. It's definitely a helpful tool. Now, once you're done with that, then it's time for you to contact eBay for Business. Have you done this before?
Yeah. So one of the nice thing is you can go to the eBay for Business on Facebook, and anytime you're on, again, it's a different platform. It's like when you call a business and you get somebody who answers, and sometimes it's somebody, you could tell it's a contracted, you mean
it's out of the country?
Yeah, it's out of the country, but it's like a contracted call center that handles, and they kind of have a script that they follow. So they don't really have an investment into the company. They're not really connected to the company in that way. But when you're messaging somebody on Facebook, companies are very careful with their social media. They don't want negative press on their social media.
And it's all written down. The receipts are there.
Yeah. And there's documentation. Because a lot of times you call somebody and they're like, yeah, we'll take care of this. And then nothing happens. And then you call back and somebody said they'd take care of this. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Sorry. But when you have it in writing from eBay, so going through the Facebook page, again, you're more likely to be able to connect with somebody who's going to have more of a vested interest in eBay and wanting to make sure that you as a seller is happy. So this is an option. Again, I would try and do other things first, because you don't want to be flagged as that person who's like, here's so-and-so messaging us again, right? Because it's probably a small team operating the eBay for Business on Facebook. But if you're using it sparingly when it's necessary, you can get some good results from it.
Yeah, that's why I leave it for last case scenario. But what you should do when you contact eBay for Business on Facebook, all right? So make sure it's eBay for Business and not eBay, okay? It's eBay for Business on Facebook via message. Lay out all the facts, but be concise. Okay, but make sure you don't miss anything, right? Because you want to tell the whole story. Now, you don't want it to be, multi-paragraphs, maybe one or two. And I got to tell you, all the time I've had people say, I had negative feedback and I just let it go. And I'm like, no, contact eBay for Business. And sure enough, within an hour or two, they will resolve the issue. You're not waiting for a phone call. You're not waiting for them to message you, on eBay Seller Help. They're on it. And so definitely recommend. It's a great tool. Again, the eBay for Business on Facebook. And the last one here, try and try and try again.
Yeah, you're going to hear no sometimes, right? Like sometimes you get really lucky.
Especially if you call. It all depends on the rep.
Yeah, exactly. And
that's why we say go Facebook first.
Yeah, you might call a rep and they say, no, sorry, can't do anything about it. And then you call again and you get a different rep and they say, no, sorry, can't do anything about it. And you call again and somebody goes, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened to you. Absolutely, we can take care of this, right? So
somebody might be in a mood.
Yeah. And so you're not going to hurt anything. Again, you don't want to become that person who's always contacting eBay. But if you've done all this stuff in the background, this isn't your fault. If you sent something that was broken and you didn't, make sure of it and you weren't being helpful with the buyer to like refund them and all of those things, and it's your fault, hey, you're probably going to be stuck with the negative feedback. But if and you've done all the right things, we all have a desire for justice, right? And we want to not be punished for things we didn't do. So call again, contact eBay for Business, do these things because chances are you're going to find somebody who's going to help you out and you're going to get this removed.
Agreed. So hopefully that'll help you out. Remember, first of all, you got to make sure you front load everything, make sure everything is good. Top rated seller definitely helps. You want to make sure you're trying to resolve things with the buyer. You want to message them, try to make things right. Use that feedback, or feedback. Was that a Freudian slip? All right. Use that feedback revision button, but only if it's a slam dunk that you could get it removed. Or else go to eBay Seller Help. And if that hasn't worked, the last course is go to eBay for Business on Facebook and just keep trying and trying and trying. And hopefully you'll be able to keep up that rep. Yeah. With that being said, make sure to be real,
be relevant,
and be reselling.
Peace.